This is Coffee Break with Jimmy. Uh, I talked a little bit last week about Tulsi Gabbard when she brought up those documents that were concealed, hidden, that wasn't available to Congress. Devin Nunes, he was the director of intelligence, and he was the one really looking into that pretty heavy, and so was Adam Schiff with he was there for the Democrats. Of course, he was trying to stop everything, but there's some information that, and we knew this. Okay, I talked about this in my last podcast about Tulsi Gabbard, and we knew this was going on. We knew this was something that was it was trying to upstage Trump. Now, you have to understand, I mean, let's go back to 2015 when Trump said he was going to run for president. He actually made a few comments over the years that, if he ran, he would win. I've talked about this before. And, he was on Oprah Winfrey at one time, and Oprah Winfrey asked him if he was going to be running for president sometime. And he said, no, it was not in his... It wasn't the idea of him running for president, but he said that if he did, he would win. And I liked him. I liked Donald Trump. I liked him back then. Over the years, you've seen him in different cameo appearances. Was that one movie, Kevin, when he was? I can't think of the name of the movie right now. I'll think of it in a minute. But Home Alone. And he made a cameo there. But Donald Trump's been around for a while, and I've liked this guy's style, always have. And I felt that if he was going to run for president, I would vote for him, regardless if he was Democrat or Republican, because actually I was independent at the time, anyhow. So, but I would have voted for him because I thought that we needed a businessman, someone who was smart, and he actually has a degree in economics. The only president I think we've ever had a degree in economics. And the way he's done that in his first presidency, let's say this, that he got quite a bit accomplished then, with everybody on his back. I'm talking, let's talk about Clapper, Comey, Brennan, Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton saying that he stole the election. They said that there was a Russia thing, and Russia stole the election. When now the one document that Tulsi Gabbard did, in fact, uncover, was one that was sent by President Obama when he was still in office now. And he had actually gathered his team together, who I just mentioned, to try to put together, FISA warrant. Now, he didn't have any. I don't know if he had anything to do with the FISA warrant, or that was Clapper and Brennan that had to do with that. But and Hillary Clinton. Actually, Hillary Clinton's campaign is the one that paid for the FISA warrant. So you take all. It's been such a mess, and everybody think, oh, this is a conspiracy, this conspiracy that. And okay, I get it, but Donald Trump has always been an outsider. Not so much an outsider as a regular person that people liked for different reasons. Of course, The Apprentice. He had The Apprentice. People liked that. That was one of the best shows, during his time. And so a lot of people liked Donald Trump for a lot of reasons. But when he decided to run for politics and then become a Republican, I guess he was a Republican already, but running as a Republican to boot, of course the Democrats, they were up in arms. There's no way this guy could win. There's no way he's going to do anything. And then when he did win, everybody was dumbfounded. Like, how can this guy win? Well, he won because he knows what he's talking about. And he said it for years. We're getting ripped off by other countries. The tariffs. I had no idea what a tariff was. I'll be honest with you. I've learned since the last presidency. I've gotten to know more about tariffs and how it works, and the trade with other countries. You get charged taxes or tariffs, whatever you want to call them, that comes along with it. In fact, I think Donald Trump did. President Trump said last week sometime they were given, he gives interviews on a daily basis. There's reporters there, and there's reporters, he's getting on Air Force One, he's getting on Marine One, or he's coming or going, and the reporters are there, and he'll answer their questions. And he's straightforward. He's the most transparent president I think we've ever had. He says what's on his mind. And that's why, like a lot of people say, well, you listen to the news, and the news isn't going to tell you the truth. The news is going to tell you what the news wants you to know. The news is going to tell you what they want, what their narrative is, and what they want you to understand. But Donald Trump, there's no narrative there. It's just President Trump telling you like it is, telling you what he's thinking, telling you what he's going to do. And, he wants transparency. I mean, okay, let's go back to this Jeffrey Epstein thing. Although I don't think he really wants to push it, because that's just another distraction, if you will, from doing like this first 6-8 months of his presidency. Well, let's call it 6-7 months of his presidency. He has done so much in trade, other countries, things that he's done here for our country. He would really like to have, of course, he would really like to have the interest rate come down, and it's not come down yet. In fact, he really he's mentioned it should be down 2 or 3%. There's a lot of things that need to be done, and he feels like needs to be done for the government. And that he says that these tariffs that he's charging other countries, reciprocal tariffs, reciprocal trade for both countries that he's trading with. He said they're going to get so much money out of these tariffs that he can actually give a rebate to some people, and I believe people probably making under $100,000 or $200,000, maybe they get a little bit of a rebate. And I tell you, there's some of us which wouldn't mind a little bit of a rebate. I had a tough go last year with the bird flu, and so others have had a tough go for some things, and so a little rebate probably wouldn't be so bad. But he just mentioned that. Not that it's going to happen. Don't bank on it. Don't hold your breath. But not that it's going to happen. But Jerome Powell should drop the interest rates. This is something that President Trump has said. I'm sorry, I keep calling him Donald Trump when he's President Trump, and I should address him that way. But he would like Jerome Powell to drop the tariffs down from, I don't know, it's 6 or 7% now. I'm not quite sure, honestly. But he says 3 or 4% higher than what it should be. So he's probably talking about 2, maybe 1.5, 2, 3%. And that would make our economy a whole lot better. And if he did give us tariffs, if he gave us a rebate, the people who would get a rebate were people that we would need some extra funds. And what they would do, they would put this money back into the economy, and it would build the economy some more. So it's not something he's just going to give some people some money, and it's going to, they're going to set it aside. It's going to disappear, other than going back to the economy. You need a new refrigerator, you need some work done in your home, anything, that you need money for, that would be there for that, and that would just boost the economy. So that money that he'd give you, it would actually help the economy. So there's different things that President Trump wants to do, but everything for him is all about transparency. Transparency, America first, all this stuff. So when we're going back, like you're talking about what Tulsi Gabbard was talking about, the director of intelligence, right? When she found these documents, and it was a document that was written by those I just mentioned, Clapper, Comey, Rice, Hillary Clinton. When they found out that Russia really had no way of interfering with the election to begin with, and they had no intention interfering with the election. I think they were probably afraid of Hillary Clinton. Well, maybe not. Maybe Hillary Clinton's going to do some favors for Russia. I don't know. But I don't think Russia had the capability of doing this. And they found that out. But because they found nothing in the original, when they originally started, the FISA warrants and everything, everything back in 2015 to try to knock Donald Trump off the stage, they, or not they, but President Obama had them go back in again. And this was after Trump was elected now. He was president-elect now. This was after November in 2016. And they wanted him to go back in and reevaluate this about the Russia collusion. And it came back by, I think it was the 9th of January of 2017. And that, in fact, there was Russia collusion. They have found something, or they made something up is what they did. It was all made up. I knew this. There was a lot of people that knew it. But the media helped everybody stifle this, about that happening, about this being, a lie. This was the truth. Russia helped Trump get the presidency. That's why he became president, because there was no way that Donald Trump could ever become the president. In fact, Obama said it one time. He said, "I'm the president of the United States, Mr. Trump, and you'll never be president of the United States." Well, I'm sorry, Barack. He's been president twice now, and he's done a far better job than you ever did. And I gave you a chance. When you were elected, I didn't vote for you. Okay, number one, I actually voted for, McCain, and I voted for who was around with you in the second go around. Anyway, I voted for the Republican candidate. And but you became president, and because you're president, I am anyway. I think most people would give you a shot at doing the right thing and hope for the best. I really hope for you to do the good things as a president, and you really didn't. And then now this is coming about, from this information that Tulsi Gabbard came up with. Now it shows that really you were in cahoots with the rest, try to get President Trump out of there. And it didn't work. It didn't work. They investigated it. Others investigated it, and all the investigators, they had nothing. There was nothing there. And in the meantime, President Trump was doing things, the biggest tax cut, biggest regulation cuts, the Abraham Accords, the different things that he did up until, of course, we got the pandemic right there toward the end of his presidency, and that kind of stifled things not stifled them, but kept everything undercover for Biden to come in and sit in his basement and run for president. And everybody knows that, they only had, 120, 130 million people that voted for president when Barack Obama ran. 62 million, I think, apiece. Comey and not Comey, I'm sorry. I can't think of his name right now. He's from Utah. Anyway, senator. There's only 120, 130,000 people that voted. And when President Trump ran against Hillary Clinton, there was only, I think, about the same, around 130, between 130 and 140,000. 1,000 million people that voted. And how did Joe Biden get almost 80 million people? And President Trump, he got over 70 million. I think that was definitely legitimate. But how did Biden get 80? Because this was the harvesting ballots. This was fraudulent ballots run through 2 and 3 times, for him to get that kind of number. And that's how he won the presidency, among other things that happened. But he became president, and look what happened. We're in the hole. We've been in the hole ever since. Well, Trump is getting us out of that hole, and he's getting it done quick. In fact, I'm kind of I'm upset back to think that it takes a president, and during his presidency, that he's going to get something done. It's going to take 4 years to even get things started. But President Trump has done it in 6, 7 months. He's done more than most presidents have done in 4 years. And he's done it greatly. But I mean, things are moving along a lot faster than I actually thought they were going to be moving along. So he's actually doing a better job than most people, including myself, thought that he was going to be able to do. But in these 6, 7 months, he's done a great job. Now all this is coming out about Gabbard. Now, Gabbard brought this stuff out. Now, I did a podcast here a couple of years ago about absolute immunity. Nixon versus Fitzgerald is what it was. It was brought to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court found that the president had absolute immunity or presidential immunity. So he was covered, and I don't even know, they did this back when Trump was president. The Supreme Court heard and said no president has absolute immunity or presidential immunity. And I mean, you almost have to do something. You almost have to kill somebody in order for them to be held responsible, or you have to commit treason. And that's, if you ask me, President Obama, by him asking them to go in and find out if this was in fact this Russia collusion, even though they found out that Russia had no interest and had no capability of hacking the election, they did it again anyway. And so that took away the first couple of years of President Trump's presidency. Well, not taking it away, but it hindered it a little bit. It slowed him down. And but we found out that in fact that wasn't true. Now I think we've really found out that it wasn't true. So did Obama do this again? Is this considered treason? Because if it's considered treason, he has no presidential immunity. Even though he did this in office when he was at the end of his presidency. You know, President Trump had already been elected. He was president-elect, but Obama was still the president of the United States until the 20th of 2017. And this came back on the 9th of January 2017. So was that treason? Or were they just trying to find something out? I don't believe that. I believe this is treason. And there's more information going to come out. There's more information going to come out from Tulsi Gabbard, and there's a lot of stuff that's still going to come out. But again, this presidency, this administration is the most transparent presidency, transparent administration ever in my lifetime. And there was, a couple other things. We want to talk about this, and that's still more information. There's more documents going to come out. Tulsi Gabbard isn't done yet. And but the one thing that we've had 3 losses here last week when Malcolm Jamal Warner died. He died in a tragic accident swimming. He drowned with his family, which is tragic enough, his family to be around him when this happened. And then, of course, we lost Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. Everybody says Crazy Train now. This is great. Mr. Crawley was my favorite song of Ozzy Osbourne. So there's a lot of them. There's a lot of songs I liked Ozzy Osbourne, but Mr. Crawley was my favorite of his. And then we lost Hulk Hogan. And I remember back in the RNC when Trump was running for president, and this was already after the assassination attempt, or both assassination attempts. And when Hulk Hogan came out there, and he started ripping off his shirt saying, "Oh, Trumpomania is alive and well. They took a shot at my hero, and that really upset me." And he started ripping off his shirt. And the people were crazy. I mean, these are people in suits at the RNC. Come on, there's people there that were there for Trump. But when Hulk Hogan got out there and did his bit, everybody went crazy. That was so awesome. And another thing that was so awesome when Sylvester Stallone came out. And now these guys are supposed to stay apolitical because they're entertainers. And of course, Colbert just got fired recently, and I don't know how a person gets fired and still gets another year or 10 months left on his. Actually, I know a little bit about that. That sort of thing. But once you're fired, you're fired. You're done, right? When I got fired from my job, which I've been doing for 44 years, I got fired from my job, and my boss gave me 2 more weeks because you got 2 weeks and you're fired. Well, I always thought when you're fired, you're done, right? Well, no, he gave me another 2 weeks and gave me enough time to really get it together and go on my own. So it really worked out well for me. But so I don't know about that Colbert getting fired and being on for 10 more months. And anyway, the thing about Hogan, I really thought that was awesome. I think President Trump thought it was awesome. I think a lot of people thought it was awesome. It was awesome when Sylvester Stallone came in and he supported the MAGA movement and President Trump. And there's a lot of actors that have now come out of the closet and voted for Trump and let people know that it's okay to be. People would think you would be on the left because you're actors. It's okay to come out and vote your opinion and vote for the MAGA movement, vote for President Trump. And I think there's a lot of Democrats that are doing the same thing. I think we're going to get more and more Democrats doing the same thing. I think this socialist movement that, I don't know, I don't really want to talk too much about, but I know this guy running for mayor, this Mamdani in New York, and they got another one running for mayor in Minneapolis. I believe it's Minneapolis, and there's another one in New Mexico. I don't think it's Albuquerque. I don't know what town it is. It might be Albuquerque, running for mayor there. But they're all socialists. They're all moving further and further to the left. And if the Democrat Party keeps moving further and further to the left, the Democrat Party is going to cease to exist. And if that happens, well, I think that might be a good thing. And maybe they can come up with a new Democratic Party because they have no leadership over there. Anyway, I've talked long enough about this, but I really wanted to talk about what was going on there. And I really wanted to mention Hulk Hogan and what he did for the RNC. And we're going to miss him. He was someone that I really liked. And I got to know him when he actually was when he was starred in the Rocky movie. Was it Rocky 3 he was in? I believe it was. It might have been. No, it wasn't Rocky. I think it was Rocky 3. And when he threw Rocky out to the crowd, I thought that was pretty awesome. That's when I first actually saw Hulk Hogan. I became a big fan of his back then. And so anyway, we're going to miss him. We're going to miss Ozzy. And Malcolm Jamal Warner, there's a lot of people watch the Cosby Show. That was a big hit, and he was a big part of that show. And we're going to miss him too. So, and my condolences to all their families and their friends. So, anyhow, this is Coffee Break with Jimmy. Please subscribe, hit the like button, share, and hit the notification bell so next time I'm on, we can talk again. Thank you.